A new study shows a boost in the earning power of fresh graduates, although fewer are finding full-time jobs.
As vaccinations ramp up in Singapore, 17 healthcare providers have been appointed to run 36 new centres and 10 mobile teams.
And how you pay for nasi lemak and chicken rice is changing fast, with more hawkers going digital. Welcome to The Big Story, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. I'm Olivia Quay.
And I'm Haryanto Diman. You can subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss a single episode. 14 new COVID-19 cases were confirmed today, all imported.
The Health Ministry said only one case arrived before mandatory on-arrival serology tests were required. The other 13 didn't have to undergo these tests when they arrived.
Meanwhile, 17 healthcare providers, including Raffles Medical, Parkway Shenton and Thomson Medical, have been appointed to set up and run the 36 COVID-19 vaccination centres and 10 mobile vaccination teams. A total of 21 vendors had placed bids for the tender, which is worth $38 million.
According to an annual joint graduate employment survey released today, most students who graduated from the 4 local universities last year secured a job and earned a higher median starting salary.
Fresh grads took home a median gross monthly salary of $3,700 last year, $100 more than in 2019. Overall, 93.6% of them were employed within 6 months of completing their final examinations. This is up from 90.7% in 2019. Now, this refers to graduates in full-time, part-time, temporary or freelance work.
Well, the survey also found that more graduates last year were employed in part-time or temporary employment, with the proportion going up from 7% in 2019 to 22.3% last year. But the proportion of graduates in full-time permanent work has fallen from 81.7% in 2019 to 69.8% now.
Joining us now is the President of the Singapore Human Resources Institute, Ms. Loh Pek Kem. Hi, Ms. Loh. Ms. Loh, were you expecting these figures given that companies are tightening their belts when it comes to employment amid the pandemic?
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me. And to your question, I do expect expect these numbers. And even though companies are tightening belts, work still needs to be done. And you still need people and you still need resources to get some of this work done. And especially, I think, with a lot of the incentives by the government to try to make sure that, especially young graduates continue to be employed. Otherwise, there's a Chinese saying, 毕业就是失业. Once you graduate, it's also equivalent to being unemployed. So with a lot of these incentives, as companies are tightening their belt, with the incentives, companies can continue to still bring in the resources and bring the talent pool that they need, and not have to really burn a big hole in their pocket.
Right. So, but Ms. Loh, I want to hear your thoughts on, those graduates who are in full-time jobs and getting higher salaries. I would expect actually that, because companies are tightening their belts, that they would be paying their employees a little bit less.
Well, I have a son who just graduated last year, and he's working in a startup organization. So I think especially for the younger generation and the young graduates, in today's context, they know their market value, so they are quite well informed. And if it is a job, even if it's full-time, they go more for the purpose and the meaning of the work rather than how much the job pays. So if companies choose to underpay because of the current COVID situation, some of these graduates and talent could easily go and join a more progressive company that is prepared to pay them market rates.
I see. So, Ms. Loh, what trends and shifts in mindset, like maybe the one you just mentioned, are you seeing in part-time employment versus full-time employment?
Well, it's interesting. I just spoke to one of my SG United trainee, And I was just asking her, hey, what's happening to the rest of your classmates and the graduates, and are they gainfully being employed full-time, or are some of them also taking on the SG United traineeship? So she was actually telling me, and she's taking on a traineeship with me. And at the same time, I actually encourage her to continue to look for full-time jobs while she's under the SG United traineeship. So she loves doing what she's doing now. And Alison is her name. And Alison is, learning as much as she can. Okay. At the same time, she takes the advantage to also network and get to know what are available out in the market. And she's also taking her time. So in that context, when I asked her about what about the rest of your cohort who have just graduated? So she was saying that most of them, some of them are on SG United traineeship. Some have found full-time jobs, and some have found full-time jobs even before they graduated. Some went to continue to do their studies, but there are many who actually took on part-time and term contract jobs, and not just full-time jobs.
Now, looking ahead, Singapore's economy is expected to pick up in 2021. GDP is projected to grow by 4 to 6% this year. Ms. Loh, do you think we will see a different trajectory then in terms of hiring fresh grads?
Well, if all goes well, I think it's good news that the company is, going into the upturn, and we all hope that this would mean that there are more opportunities. So especially for, I think, young graduates, I think it's important that they have that mindset of skills future, and making sure that they continue to be ready for the future, and not look at the short term. Especially these days, I think we live a lot longer, and in all likelihood, all our fresh graduates who are in their 20s are going to live to celebrate their 100th birthday. So as we look at a career, we are really looking at more lifelong employability rather than a stable job that you want to stay on for the whole of your 40, 50 years of your career. So what's important for our fresh graduates is really to look at their career in multi-stages, and take time to learn, take time to contribute, and also take time to make sure that you have that work-life harmony, and also take time to rest and to upgrade yourself so that you will continue to be employable and ready for the future.
Well said. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ms. Loh. We've been speaking to SHRI President, Ms. Loh Pei Kem.
Thank you.
Also in the local headlines, UOB's former vice president has been accused of multiple offences, including allegedly misappropriating cash totaling over $5.3 million while he was holding the post. Ling Sheik Loon, who was charged on February 10th, currently faces 28 counts of forgery for the purpose of cheating, 54 counts of forgery, and 47 counts of dealing the benefits of his alleged criminal activities, among other charges. Responding to queries from the Straits Times, UOB said in addition to firing Ling, it has launched a police report against him. His bail has been set at $150,000 and his pre-trial conference will be held on March 11th.
Congrats to those who took the A-levels last year. They achieved the best passing rate since 2006. This despite the difficult circumstances brought on by the pandemic. The number of students who attained at least 3 H2 passes with a pass in GP or knowledge and inquiry was 93.6% of the over 11,500 candidates. The result was slightly better than the 93.4% achieved in 2019.
Well, it's almost dinner time, and if you need some food ideas, how about swinging by your nearest hawker centre? Well, if you're like me and don't always have cash in hand, your favourite hawker stalls might just allow for e-payments.
That's right. More than half of hawker stall owners have joined the Hawkers Go Digital campaign. Here's multimedia journalist Fazana Friday with more.
Ever tried to pay for a meal at a hawker centre but not have any cash on hand? Well, now you don't have to go hungry anymore as more hawkers go on the Hawkers Go digital program. Just like here at Whampoa Food Centre, patrons can go cashless for their favourite hawker meals.
Transactions volume for January 2021 crossed the 1.2 million mark. Value as well surpassed the $14 million mark, a fourfold increase from when the program was first launched in June. Annie Abdullah runs Annie's Halal Cuisine here at Whampoa with her husband. The stall has been accepting e-payments since it started and receives around 30 transactions monthly.
I find it convenient and easy to track our payment, and it's also very fast. Now here we have a lot of old folks, so most of them they don't know how to use. Unless all those from age 20 to 40, they will use digital to make payment.
For me, it's convenient. It's convenient, and for the customer also convenient. You don't need to use the money. Then we normally we keep the chain using by hand. You still need to wash or whatever it is. But now in this one, it's convenient.
So far, 10,000 stallholders have adopted e-payment. That's more than half of all stallholders here.
Our goal was to reach out to 18,000 hawkers island-wide. And in fact, the team has been able to achieve that by reaching out to all of them. And the significant thing is, more than half have to date already adopted the SGQR code payment solution, which is a good sign because what it means is that they are beginning to see the value and the usage. And that's also manifested in the fact that we have seen the value of transaction go up by more than fourfold, from $3 million in June last year to $14 million in January this year.
It was reported last year that hawkers have been cheated by opportunistic customers who show them screenshots of fake or old transactions as proof of payment. To counter that, Nets will roll out new features on the Nets Biz app, used by hawkers and small retailers to help hawkers fight fraud.
The other thing is also making it easier for the stallholders because there is some feedback about the application and how it serves them. So some of the things that IMD has been working with Nets on includes a font size, how the notification is received, the sound and so on, to make it more obvious and easy for them to know that a transaction has taken place.
Besides hawker food, customers can also expect to make e-payments for other necessities such as key services and wet market groceries. Farzana, Friday for The Straits Times.
Looking overseas, Pfizer and BioNTech have started an international study with 4,000 volunteers to evaluate the safety and effectiveness of their COVID-19 vaccine in healthy pregnant women. Pregnant women are at higher risk of developing severe COVID-19, and many public health officials have recommended those in high-risk professions take vaccines even without proof they are safe for them. Pfizer said it could have results by the fourth quarter of 2021.
Malaysia's federal court has ruled that online news portal Malaysia Kini is in contempt of court. This over Malaysia Kini readers' comments that criticized the judiciary on an article it posted last year in a case widely seen as a test of media freedom in Malaysia. In a 6-1 majority decision, the court held that Malaysia Kini had failed to cast reasonable doubt on the allegation against it. The Court of Appeal, though, found that its editor-in-chief, Stephen Gunn, is not liable of contempt.
Touchdown confirmed. Perseverance safely on the surface of Mars.
We're one step closer to finding out if there are traces of past life in the outer space. While NASA's science rover Perseverance successfully streaked through the Martian atmosphere and landed safely in a deep crater on Mars. This marks just the second time NASA has put a one-ton cover on Mars, and it will now spend at least the next 2 years drilling into the local rocks, looking for evidence of ancient life.
Well, those are our top stories in our orbit today. For more news and videos, visit straitstimes.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the red button below.
Once again, I'm Haryanto Diman with Olivia Kwe. Have a good weekend, and we will see you next week.